back. We're at a conference of college students of a group called Students for Liberty. And David Bose of the Cato Institute says something strange. He says Republicans, Democrats, there's not that much difference. But what are you talking about? The whole political fight, I'm told, is about Republicans and Democrats.
Yeah, they fight a lot. They absolutely do call each other names. But, you know, when you actually look at what they're doing, the Republicans are arguing we should cut like $60 billion out of the budget. That sounds like an incredible amount of money. But it's out of a budget that's almost $4 trillion, so it's really a tiny amount. The budget keeps going up under every president, Republican and Democrat. Bush got us into 2 wars. Obama said he would get us out, but he hasn't. Republicans and Democrats both listen more to special interests than they do to the taxpayers. Sometimes it's different special interests. The Republicans particularly like the family values groups and the farm subsidies, and the Democrats particularly like the unions and the organized women's groups and so on. But Wall Street is playing both parties. They both listen to special interests. They both believe in magic. They both think they can just write a law and suddenly we'll have strong families or an end to racism or everybody will get a good education. It's just magic. We'll just write a law. I like to talk about the people who think they can run your life better than you can. And one group of them are the Hillarys. And they think that you don't even know how to wipe your nose. They think you don't know how to burp a baby. And so they want to have a government program to tell you how to do everything like that. And then you have the Huckabees, and they think God could run your life better than you could. And since God doesn't actually appear on television, Huckabee will speak for him. And they think that you don't know what to drink, and you can't be trusted to decide what to smoke, and you can't be trusted to decide who to marry. And then over on the Hillary side, they don't think you can be trusted what to eat. So both of them are saying, I know how to run your life better than you do. And I think libertarians are the only people saying, you can run your own life better than politicians in Washington can.
Come to the microphone if you have thoughts on that.
Hi, my name is Dennis Craig. I am on the executive board of Students for Liberty. I'm also a student here at George Washington University. With the rise of the Tea Party in recent years, do you feel that that's harming the message of liberty if we continue to be associated with conservatives, or do you feel like libertarianism ought to be a philosophy that stands by itself on its own 2 feet?
Over the years, conservatives have resisted the demands for equal rights and equal dignity that came from black people and from women and from gay people, and libertarians should be on the right side of all of those issues, and that is a big difference. The problem with the Tea Party is focused on fiscal issues, and as long as they stick to fiscal issues, I don't think we should be criticizing them. They're not conservatives, they're not libertarians. They're fiscal responsible people, and that is a fine thing to do.
Next.
I'm Nicole. I'm from George Washington University, and my question is similar to actually my colleague asked earlier from George Washington as well. Should we be mixing the liberty movement with the Tea Party?
Let's end with that question from this segment. It's a good one because the Tea Party movement is wonderful if all the debate is about government spending. But more people in the Tea Party love the war on drugs and oppose gay marriage and hold a lot of ideas we libertarians abhor. So when we come back, let's talk about that, the war on drugs, when we return. We're back in Washington, D.C. at a conference of Students for Liberty. This topic, the war on drugs. Now, I get why people want a war on drugs. Drugs hurt a lot of people, and I had to work my brain around this to get to the point where I say, once you're 18 or 21, however you want to define it, you ought to be able to put anything in your body that you see fit. If you hurt yourself, that's your problem. What's the goal here? The goal is to protect us from ourselves. But how well is that working? Are the drugs harder to get at your campus than, say, alcohol? Are they? Easier. So making it illegal doesn't make it go away. Maybe a certain percentage of people will use or abuse intoxicants regardless of what the law is. My instinct as a parent is to say, I want a law, protect my kids. But it's not working. As you say, they can get it more easily than they can get alcohol. And it's harder to see the unintended consequences of these well-intended laws. But we ought to see them now, because now they're in our face. There's the crime. Almost all the drug crime isn't caused by people using these drugs and running out and committing crimes. They're caused because the law makes the drug illegal. Nicotine, our government says, is as addictive as heroin. Yet no one's knocking over 7-Elevens to get Marlboros. It's the law that causes the crime, because the sellers can't rely on the police to protect their private property, so they arm themselves and form gangs. And the buyers steal to pay the higher prices. If the purpose of the law is to protect us from ourselves, why is tobacco and liquor okay and cocaine not? Yes.
Hi, my name is Kelly Jemison, and I'm a senior at James Madison University in Virginia. In recent years, it's become a lot more evident, the failures of the drug war. What do you think are some of the biggest factors that have increased public awareness? And do you think we could see legalization of drugs as a viable solution in our lifetimes?
Well, in our lifetimes, particularly for you, that's a long time. So I got to tell you, one thing that strikes me here is our last 3 presidents have all admitted that in their youth they used drugs. And presumably, they don't think it would have been good for them if they had been arrested and incarcerated. And I'm guessing that they don't think it would be good for the country if they had been arrested and incarcerated before they started their political careers. So I just do not understand the psychology of knowing that what you did in your youth, that your life would have been ruined if you had been arrested for doing. How can you arrest 1 million people a year for doing what you did?
Hi, Leah Palagashvili, George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. Public opinion is really important. How many more failures do we need to see in the drug war, or what do you think needs to happen to help change the public opinion on the war on drugs?
People have lives. They don't spend their time studying public policy issues. Drugs are bad, drugs are scary, and therefore they want a war on drugs. Politicians are paid to spend their time studying the evidence, and they're not doing a very good job of it. I thought when the 60s generation got into positions of power, that would change the drug war. Government programs and the fear of the other are both so powerful, so difficult to overcome, that I don't have a prediction.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Dana Modulewski from Harvard University and one of Students for Liberty's campus coordinators. A lot of people talk about how can we improve the life prospects of inner city minorities. Do you believe that one of the best ways we can improve their lives is to end drug prohibition?
Absolutely.
Yes. The most prosperous people in the community are drug dealers, people who are inherently in violation of the law, because that's the situation right now. It destroys respect for the law, respect for teachers and preachers and parents, because they all appear to be less successful than the flashy drug dealers. So it absolutely is devastating effects on inner city communities.
And what does it say to the kid who lives in that community? Where are the role models? The people with the money are the criminals, the people with the best cars and the best clothes. And why work for minimum wage at McDonald's when your little brother can make more as a lookout for the drug dealer? It just sends a terrible, distorting message to the poorest communities, but those poorest communities are also the ones most in love with big government and big government protection.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alexander Falkenstein. I'm from Arizona State University, and my question is, why hasn't there been more education on the benefits of decriminalization in foreign countries like Portugal?
Well, those of us who know about it have tried to educate. The Portugal story was not known, but is getting better known. It's been in important magazines, Newsweek, The Economist. It's been on television.
Let's just tell the story, which is that they decriminalized totally, and crime has gone down and drug use has gone down.
In fact, the U.S. drug czar went over there recently to try to get some evidence to refute this study, but if he got it, I haven't heard the refutation.
Thank you.
And we're out of time for this subject. When we return, I want to ask you, what's it like on your campus? Are socialist and liberal professors cramming their ideas down your throat? What's it like to be for liberty on campus these days? When we return. Thank you very much. We're back for our last segment with the Students for Liberty at their conference in Washington. I want to ask you, what's it like to be a libertarian on a college campus these days? When I was in college, if I said, you know, I don't think the war on poverty is working very well, I don't think welfare has really helped poor people, they would have beaten me up. So what's it like now? Yes.
Hi, my name is Allison McCarty, and I go to Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. And this fall,
lucky you.
I know, somebody's got to do it. But this fall, in honor of Constitution Week, college libertarians put up a free speech wall at Pepperdine University, and we had a ginormous paper up on the wall where people could write anything that they wanted. And of course, some of the things were deep, some of them were silly, and some of them were downright offensive. But it was a really organic experiment in free speech where people, if something was said that was inaccurate or offensive, people would circle it, draw lines, and refute it. But unfortunately, at the end of the week, one of the students at Pepperdine took upon himself to tear down this wall, and he called it cowardly. It was something that said him, and he shoved it into the trash can. So I was wondering what your thoughts were about what this means and how we can address university settings that are very difficult and hostile to the message of liberty.
It's very tough. I've had, when I was speaking on campuses, people put up posters, capitalism is good, and students tore them down. And I think they are sincere in that they really view free markets as unfair to the poor. They're just ignorant, and we have to educate them.
My name is Saeed Hossein. I'm from Columbia University. One of the major things that students usually find attractive in colleges is diversity, and how there's this diversity of groups of different people coming together and being intellectual and learning. But the sad truth is, especially at a school like mine and many other schools, is that there might be diversity, but there's something lacking in diversity of thought, and that's something that really, really needs to come out, and we really need to have everyone support different viewpoints and have...
Are you respected as a libertarian?
A little bit, by some, scoffed at by others, yelled at by socialists.
Some of your classmates, when they start paying taxes, will remember some of the things you said.
Oh yeah, oh yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Zach Winston. I'm a student at Penn State. Through all my econ classes, free trade is generally emphasized as a good thing, as it is with many economists, but immigration is often ignored. Also, we have a social security problem in this country. Well, if we let in more immigrants, that could help raise taxes and other things, as immigrants tend to be of working age. I was just wondering your thoughts on this issue.
Well, I think letting in immigrants to improve the Social Security system is kind of like a Ponzi scheme. Eventually, they'll expect to get theirs, and so you'll just be stretching out the problem. Immigration is tougher, and there are more challenges. Letting goods cross borders is just mathematically, obviously better than trying to block them. With people can bring in diseases, people can bring in box cutters and bombs. People worry about things like that. A lot of the concerns about immigration may be racially motivated. Some are motivated by dumb economic ideas like they will take our jobs, which is just not understanding that the economy is a positive-sum game. But some are motivated by real concerns like some immigrants might be terrorists. Nevertheless, this country is built on immigrants. My family was here before 1776, so I guess I could say, hey, we were here first, you people stay out. But I will note that a lot of the anti-immigrant people in America, Pat Buchanan, his family wasn't here before 1776. Tom Tancredo, his family wasn't here before 1776. Michelle Malkin, her family wasn't here before 1776. So my family could have kept all of them out. But it's probably a better country because we did let in the Irish, the Italians, the Filipinos, and lots of other people.
Thank you.
We're just about out of time, and I want to leave room for one more point because David Bose said something recently that really turned my brain around about liberty, and that I complain a lot. I'm on TV saying they're taking our freedom, and Thomas Jefferson did say it's the natural progress of things for government to gain and liberty to yield. And that's what's been happening. Government is growing to the point that it's stealing your future. But there is good news that we tend to forget. When I was your age, most women could not get a credit card or start a business without their husband's permission. So a lot has changed to make us more free, and why don't you close us out with that?
Libertarians tend to say we're losing our liberties, we're getting less free all the time. We think The Road to Serfdom is a book about the world. And at the Cato Institute, we have a standard description of ourselves, and one of the things that it always said was, since the American Revolution, civil and economic liberties have eroded. And one day, Clarence Thomas came to speak at the Cato Institute, and he looked at that and he said, it doesn't really seem that way to black people. And we thought about it, and we realized he was right. So we changed that line. We talk about the threats to freedom, we talk about the growth of government, but we remember that it hasn't been all downhill since the American Revolution. I look out at you folks and I think, when I was your age, I was worried about being drafted and sent off to Vietnam. You're not worrying about that. That is a huge increase in freedom. When I was your age, there were 3 television networks. Now there are way too many. And that's because of loosening up the market. There used to be strict restrictions on price and entry in airlines and trucking and telecommunications and finance, and we lifted a lot of those in a wave of deregulation. Sometimes I ask libertarians, when is this year that you think we were freer than we are now? I had one libertarian write something where she said 1850. We had slavery then. 4 million Americans held in chains. How is that freer? Then he said, well, maybe 1880. Okay, that's a little better, but we had Jim Crow, and we had an awful lot of restrictions on the rights of women. Gay people certainly were completely unable to live their own lives back then. So I think in a lot of ways, we are freer today in modern America than we have ever been, despite all the restrictions on liberty that we ought to talk about. We need to keep that in mind. We are not just fighting a losing battle. And along with communism, we have defeated apartheid and Nazism and fascism, and we're getting rid of military dictatorships, and we may even bring down the autocrats in the Arab world. So there has been a lot of progress. But that progress didn't happen because of historical inevitability. Some of it's technology, some of it's economic change, and a lot of it is because people changed their minds about the way the government should treat people, and they got out and did something about it. And that's why it's so important that you are here, because it is up to us to make the further changes in the direction of freedom that we need.
Yeah, thank you. And that's our show tonight. Thank you, Students for Liberty.